The objective of this talk is simple. By the end, you'll be inspired to call or text someone you've been meaning to connect with. My own life experiences are filled with unfulfilled conversations, blank spaces on the pages of life. Imagine coming to a crossroads where every path is paved with words left unsaid, love unfulfilled, and reconciliation postponed. You got a friend that you haven't spoken to in a while. Maybe you guys had a falling out. Maybe it's a cousin or a sibling. And the one that hits home for me, there's someone out there arguing with their parents about something that won't mean a thing when it's all said and done, but you don't speak to your parents. So let's dive deep into our last words, not just the ones we say at life's end, but the ones we choose to say daily through our interactions. When I was 6 years old, I must have been in the first grade, I remember my father stormed out of our one-bedroom apartment. His last words to my mom were inappropriate, to say the least. Things kind of got back to normal as evening fell, until I saw my mother dragging 2 large garbage bags through the hallways of our apartment. I can hear the distinct sound of plastic rustling as the bags slammed down onto the echo-filled landing in front of our home. Shortly after that, my father returned. "He's going with you," my mother screamed. "What do you mean? I can't take care of a little kid by myself." My father panically replied, "Oh, you're going to have to, because I can't take care of both of them." My mother yelled, "Please, don't split up the boys," my father begged. It was decided I was going to live with my father. Despite my young age, the weight of that moment always stayed with me. And even though I got thrown out of my house as a small child with my clothes in trash bags, me and my mom still had a really good relationship. But life has a way of testing our bonds. I went to go visit my mother for Christmas. I was a senior in high school. She was a small business owner, so she worked late that night. When she went to sleep, her head hit the pillow and she was out like a light. She was in a new relationship with a man much younger than her. I didn't like it. I mean, I have friends this guy's age, and I let my mom know that I did not approve. As she slept, her boyfriend called. "Hello? Hey, can I speak to your mom?" "Nah, she's asleep." Oh, okay. Is it all right if I leave a click?" "Who was that?" my mom said from her half-sleep state. "Oh, it was nobody, Ma. Go back to bed." Was that my man?" "Yeah, but you're asleep. Get some rest." "Why didn't you give me the phone?" "Because you were asleep. Who are you talking to like that? You've been working all day. You need to get some rest." "You are not my father." She called him back, and they set up a meeting for that night, Christmas Eve. I was sick to my stomach. I went to the next room. I started working out on the weights clanking so my mom could hear my frustration. She walks into the room. She yells. We argue. I say things that I wish I could take back. And just like when I was in the first grade, my bags were packed. But this time, there were no trash bags. I wanted her to know that she chose him over me. So I ran away from home on Christmas Day. I didn't speak to my mom for 2 months after that. And then she called me in February. I was cold, distant. It was like she was going through something, and calling me was an attempt to get through it. I could hear the disappointment in her voice. A few weeks later, I stood outside of her shop, and I just watched her. I remember thinking to myself, I should just go in there, give her a hug and squash this. But I was anchored to my pride, and I couldn't bring myself to do it. I thought to myself, maybe next time. There would be no next time. My mother passed away that April. One of her close friends told me, your mother loved you so much, it killed her that you wouldn't talk to her. She died of a broken heart. I never got to share my last thoughts with my mother. But if I lived life with my last words, I'd say, Mommy, I am so very sorry. Please find it in your heart to forgive me. Everything that I am and everything that I do is because of you. Thank you for every moment, every hug, and every memory. I love you. The loss of my mother made me think about the power of my words. But I was young, always on the move, ripping and running. But as I matured, I knew that big changes were on the way. I arrived at my mother's funeral. The funeral home director allowed me a little bit of time to spend alone with her. I didn't shed a tear. I don't remember wanting to cry. But I do remember smiling when my big brother Kevin arrived at the funeral. He pulled up in a van. He had 2 guards with him, and he had these large bracelets on his wrist. And a large chain around his waist. And those chains led to the shackles on his ankles. My brother was serving 20 years to life and was granted permission to attend my mother's funeral. Despite the somber occasion, we had a good time, y'all. We were laughing, smiling, joking. I don't remember having a moment like that with him since he got arrested. But when it was time to say goodbye, an emptiness fell over me. And we didn't say I love you when we said goodbye. We simply said Teflon. That was our special way of expressing affection for one another without sounding too mushy. As his van pulled away, I remember thinking to myself, my mother's gone and my brother's gone too. After 20 years, my brother was released from prison. But in 2021, he fell ill with a serious heart condition. I did my best to be there for him. And honestly, it was tough. When he got out of the hospital, I remember saying, okay, so Kevin's good. I can take a step back, give some energy to some other family priorities. I have 2 small children, a wife. My father just had a stroke. So I consciously stepped back. Kevin sent me a voice note one day, and I remember looking at it like, oh, I'll check it later. I must have been washing dishes, driving the car. I don't remember, but I forgot the message. 3 days later, my father called me. He said, Robin, you sitting down? Sitting down while I'm driving, what are you talking about? Robin, sit down. I sat down, and my father told me that my brother Kevin passed away. I have never felt pain like that in my life. It felt like my insides and my organs were removed from my body, and I was walking around hollow. So I went back to check the voice note that he left me. His last words to me. While coughing, he said, I got fluid in my lungs. I got fluid in my stomach. I'm going back to the hospital. I never got to share last words with my brother. But if I lived life with my last words, I say, I love you, bro. I miss you so much. Sorry I missed your voice note. Thank you for all of your guidance and for using your human suffering as a shield to protect me from suffering the same pitfalls. With eternal gratitude, Teflon. Back then, I didn't understand the power of my words and being intentional with ending conversations, so I studied up on the topic. According to Dr. Joanne Finkelstein, research across 7 different studies found that well-rounded endings were associated with positive effect, little regret, and an easier transition into the next life phase. So now, when I end conversations, I do my best to fill words with love and laser-focused intention. And it's made me a better version of myself. And you know what? It's also changed my life. This simple shift. And I want to show you how it can change yours. So how do we put this into practice? I want to share with you my 4-part sync method. Yes, sync. Why sync? Because it's really about being in sync with each other. Now let's dive in. S is for simple. I overthink this all the time. I always want to leave my kids with something profound when I leave the house. So the other day I'm walking out, I kissed my daughter, my 5-year-old, on the head, and I said, "Hey, you can do anything you want in life. Don't you ever let someone tell you that you can't do something. If you can dream it, you can be it." Good, right? You know what this little tater tot gonna turn around and tell me? She looks up at me and she says, "So Daddy, what you're saying is, if you and Mommy tell me to do something, I don't have to listen to you anymore?" Repeat after me, everybody. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Everybody, one more time. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Y is for yield. Yield to your intention through every interaction. Don't just talk to somebody and start thinking about what you're going to say next, so when they stop, you're ready. Be fully present. Make sure you're trying to channel their energy and respond with authentic and sincere intention. N is for natural. Don't overthink it. Don't end your conversations with, "Just in case this is the last time we ever see each other." This just leads to morbid intention. And this is not about dying. This is about optimizing every opportunity to leave your conversation partner fulfilled and better off than they were before you spoke. C is for change it up. Don't just leave the house with your loved ones with a quick "love you, bye," pew, every single time. Try, "I appreciate you. I'm so grateful for you." Or my personal favorite, keep shining your light. Don't let love become a routine. Love is a verb, so breathe vibrant life into your relationships. Again, S is for simple, Y is for yield, N is for natural, C is for change it up, but I have one more bonus piece for this puzzle, and this one is super important, so listen up close. This is not just for verbal interactions. This is for emails, this is for text, and this is especially for social media. Imagine if everyone from our physical society and everyone from our digital society put this into practice, the world would be a better place. I urge you, live life with your last words. When ending conversations, share a little bit of your light. Reach out to someone you've been meaning to connect with, express love, offer forgiveness, and share your heart openly and without fear. Thank you.